You are watching a master at work.
Well, that breaking news tonight, chaos in Brooklyn described by the police commissioner as a violent rampage. 8 people hurt after being struck by a U-Haul that blew through neighborhoods, driving on sidewalks as well as the street. Thanks so much for joining us for the Pix 11 News at 4. I'm Tamsin Fidel.
And I'm Erin LeBeau. Now, the driver of the truck is in police custody, and we just received this photo of him from police sources. Now, the man's son identifying him as Windsor, saying his father was living in Las Vegas before showing up recently in New York. Police sources say the 62-year-old has a criminal history and expressed suicidal thoughts while being taken to the precinct. They also tell us he rented the U-Haul out of state.
Police commissioner says as of now, there's no indication terrorism is involved. 8 people are hurt, including 2 critically. Among the injured, a police officer. The chaos started in Bay Ridge, where several pedestrians and e-bike riders were hit. Police finally stopping the driver more than 3 miles away in Red Hook.
Yeah, that's where we find Pix 11's Ayana Harry, who joins us live with the latest. Ayana.
Tamsin and Arony, it was an intense police chase. Officers followed that U-Haul from Bay Ridge all the way here to Red Hook. I want to step aside and show you the scene. They finally got that suspect into custody here at Columbia Street and Hamilton Avenue. We're told the U-Haul truck was stuck behind cars at a red light. The driver then took the truck onto the sidewalk in an effort to get away, but then a police vehicle was able to block him in and get that suspect into custody, finally ending a violent rampage. In total, 8 people were injured, including a police officer. 2 of those people are in critical condition, and we're told at least 3 were riding on e-bikes when they were struck by this U-Haul. This all began late this morning on 5th Avenue in Bay Ridge, where detectives say a man behind the wheel of a U-Haul began driving recklessly onto bike lanes and sidewalks, injuring people at several locations, and not just in Bay Ridge, but also injuring people in Sunset Park, before officers were finally able to corner that U-Haul truck in here near the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel. Now about the driver, and we do now have a picture of this driver, a 62-year-old man, Windsor. He was living in Las Vegas before recently arriving in New York, and police tell Pix 11 Soar rented the U-Haul in his own name out of state, and he expressed suicidal thoughts after being taken into custody. This afternoon, Police Commissioner Keishant Sewell praised the actions of the responding officers.
What we saw today is a clear example why every moment of every day the NYPD must be prepared for every possibility.
We don't know who this person is. We don't know what his aim was, what kind of harm he intended to do.
Tamsin and Arony, earlier during the day, police vehicles were seen chasing after that U-Haul, even going onto the sidewalk. We did ask the police commissioner about that practice. She tells us it is also under investigation. But again, 8 people injured, 2 in critical condition. Reporting live from Red Hook, Brooklyn, Ayana Harry, Pix 11 News.
So that nigga crazy.
Yeah. On the sidewalk, and that man just inches away from being hit and diving out of the way. Here he is seeing it again. I think anyone that walks on the street looking at their phone or thinking to themselves, you know, you have to be aware of your surroundings when you think of things like this could happen to anybody. And you see how close that man was. As it is.
He's on a sidewalk.
And then the police following right on him.
He's on a sidewalk. He's not even crossing the street. Yeah,
you'd never expect it.
And again, so we know that he's traveling north on the sidewalk here, but we don't know from here where he turned. We were hearing reports that he might have gone over to 4th Avenue.
Newscopper 7. Now, as we've mentioned, this was a massive scene spanning several different neighborhoods. Shannon, talk to us a little bit about just how much ground the suspect covered in that U-Haul van.
Yeah, well, we're going to do that here with this Street Spotter 7, and it's really going to give you an idea of just how far this all went down. And we're starting here at the very end at Columbia Street and Hamilton Avenue, where police finally caught up with that U-Haul vehicle. But this is the first and probably biggest picture that we can show you, because this is the most distance that was probably covered. The initial impact was at Senator Street and 5th Avenue. And remember, this rampage started at about 10 1:49 this morning and lasted more than 30 minutes. So Senator Street and 5th Avenue, as Lauren was telling you, that is where a pedestrian was struck and broke a leg. It then went slightly south to Bay Ridge Parkway and 5th Avenue, where it struck an e-bicyclist there. So from there, it's not like he stopped. He then went slightly north and slightly east, crossing over the Gowanus Expressway to Bay Ridge Avenue and 7th, where he did more destruction there. And then the rampage continued further east still, all the way over to Bay Ridge Avenue and 12th. So you're getting in towards Dyker Heights at this point. But then he actually doubled back and went back to the west, back towards where this scene all started at Senator and 5th Avenue, and struck yet another pedestrian at 72nd and 3rd, and then one more at 64th and 3rd. Now, police did try to stop him at his second location at Bay Ridge Parkway and 5th Avenue, but you could see all of these places that he wound up. We're going to just bring them all back up on the map and show you how far he went before finally getting stopped by police officers. Again, he is in custody. 2 people now in critical condition, but what a tour of rampage that lasted over 30 minutes here in Brooklyn.
We're beginning this hour with some breaking news from the Falls. Channel 2's Dave McKinley joining us live with more on what happened this afternoon. What do we know so far, Dave?
Well, this is a developing situation, of course, Kate, and we don't have a lot of details because we've yet to get any interviews with State Parks Police about it. However, we can tell you when this occurred. That was about 1 o'clock this afternoon, and we can show you where as well. If you'll be over here with me, we're on Goat Island in Niagara Falls, and right over here, the railing to the Niagara Gorge. This is near the entrance of the Cave of the Winds. We are told at about 1 o'clock this afternoon that a woman with a child jumped over that railing. We are also told that the child did survive the initial fall and was taken to the hospital for treatment. The woman did not survive, however, and we witnessed as a state police helicopter was used to lower a rappelling crew into the gorge, and from there they were able to retract her body, and less than 10 minutes ago they brought it up here to Goat Island so that it could be transported. So again, 1 o'clock this afternoon, according to the State Parks Department, a woman with a child jumped over the railing into the gorge. The child survived, the mom did not. We hope to be speaking to State Parks Police soon and hope to bring you more updated information tonight at 5. For now, reporting live on Goat Island in Niagara Falls, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
Dave, thank you. And this is a story we will continue to follow on air and online, and of course on Channel 2 News.
A sugar cookie, man. This is crazy.
Smith joins us live in Bay Ridge with details. Jim.
Yeah, and Natalie, this all starting about 11 o'clock this morning. Multiple pedestrians struck by a U-Haul truck near this intersection, Bay Ridge Parkway and 5th Avenue. Now, a portion of 5th Avenue has been closed off, as well as Bay Ridge Parkway. We understand at this time that 4 people were injured. The extent of those injuries are not known at this time. Again, this is where it all started. Where the story wound up ending was along Hamilton Avenue near Columbia Street. The truck involved did not stop for police vehicles that attempted to stop it, striking several police vehicles. Ultimately, that truck was stopped at Hamilton Avenue and Columbia Street in Red Hook. Believed at this time that at least one person is in custody, and currently the police are checking out that truck for anything potentially dangerous inside of it. Live in Chopper 2, Jim Smith, CBS 2 News.
And Jim, police obviously telling people to avoid that area. About how many blocks appear to be closed off there?
There are multiple street closures all related to this story. Again, this is where it started, about 1 block of Bay Ridge Parkway. Also, a block of 5th Avenue in this area has been blocked off. At where the story ended, Hamilton Avenue near Columbia Street. Several blocks of Hamilton Avenue have been blocked off, as well as Columbia Street. Also worth noting, you might find some closures there as well. Natalie?
All right, Jim, thank you very much, and we'll continue to follow this developing story.
Senator Street in Bay Ridge was one of the locations where the U-Haul driver hit pedestrians. It's an area that people and business owners say is always busy during the morning hours.
Many of them say that they saw what happened. They talked to Fox 5's Ashley Rodriguez. She joins us live from that area. Ashley, what are people there telling you?
So this area is packed with shops and pedestrians and bike riders, and while it's busy in the morning like you mentioned, it's still relatively calm and quiet. So no one was prepared when the U-Haul came barreling down Senator Street, and I'm told he hit a bike rider right behind me right here, and it was the way he hit the bike rider, according to eyewitnesses, that led them to believe it was done on purpose.
The truck was coming down Senator from 4th Avenue. And the guy with the electric bike was going down this way.
Hours after a man driving a U-Haul tore through this Bay Ridge neighborhood Monday morning, residents and store owners are still reeling, recounting the incident in shock.
The truck was coming down fast, and he ran into him. You know, he purposely ran into him.
The idea the truck hitting a bike rider wasn't a part of a wild police chase or an accident is what's shared by multiple unconnected eyewitnesses.
Everybody said the same thing. It was like on purpose.
In video shared with us from a nearby store, you can see in the top right corner, the U-Haul crosses into 5th Avenue from Senator Street, hitting a bike rider at an angle and at a slow enough speed that it could be perceived to be on purpose.
My thoughts was this guy was hitting people intentionally. Yeah. And when the first cops showed up, I was telling the cop, this guy looks like he was hitting people intentionally. He was like, how do you know? I said, because it didn't look like an accident.
It's so scary. You're going to work, somebody's going to buy something for his family. I never go back home. That's so scary.
So again, as Lisa mentioned, the motive is still under investigation. We're waiting for those details. Now, this area has just recently opened up within the last hour or so. For most of the day, there was police tape up. And for people out here who have never experienced violence, to see the police tape, to see what happened, and to know that a man may have lost his life right there, it makes what they see on the news all too real. In Brooklyn, Ashley Rodriguez, we'll send it back to you.
Yeah, that video is just awful. All right, Ashley, thank you. And
people are now hospitalized after police say a 62-year-old man hit them with a U-Haul.
Police say the rampage began in Bay Ridge and ended near the Brooklyn entrance to the Battery Tunnel, where police surrounded the truck. In all, there are 7 crime scenes throughout Brooklyn, and this is security video of the moment the U-Haul jumped the curb and went onto the sidewalk, forcing a man to dive out of the way.
We have live team coverage tonight. Ali Bauman at the hospital where some of the victims are now being treated. Christina Fan spoke with witnesses. Let's begin with Lisa Rosner with details on what exactly happened and who police have in custody. Lisa.
Well, this is where this rampage ended, here on Hamilton Avenue, right near the entrance to the Battery Tunnel. I'm going to step out so you can see the U-Haul still here on scene, a very active investigation. Police say an NYPD patrol car was able to cut off the U-Haul, sending the truck onto the sidewalk and forcing the suspect to surrender. Surveillance video shows how the driver radically made his way through Brooklyn Monday morning, knocking out a bike and hopping onto the sidewalk as a pedestrian runs out of the way.
Just kind of recklessly driving and running over people on their delivery bikes.
The NYPD says just before 11 a.m., officers responded to a man driving a U-Haul truck in Bay Ridge. At least 8 people struck in 7 different locations before the NYPD ended the violent rampage at Columbia Street and Hamilton Avenue.
The patrol got into, in front of the truck, and then the truck got into the sidewalk. Like, he couldn't move anymore. He couldn't. So right away, the officer got out of the car, pulled out the gun, and, the guy had no choice but to stop.
This photo shows the suspect being detained. Sources say he is 62-year-old Wang Sor, born in Malaysia, but a U.S. citizen living in NYC for at least a decade. Sources say he has no criminal record in the city, but the NYPD did interact with him in July 2019 in response to an emotionally disturbed person call in Queens. He was allegedly jumping around in traffic.
At this time, we have no indication that there is any terrorism involvement in this incident.
Sources say he also told the police transporting him to the 68th precinct for questioning that he, quote, wanted to die, end quote, but he has not made any statements about his intention or motive. There was an American flag in the front of the U-Haul decorated with red and white stars. Near the final crash scene are also a pillow and clothes on the ground. Cardboard boxes are in the back of the U-Haul, making it appear like he was living out of the vehicle. And U-Haul told us that the suspect rented the truck from Florida in the last month. The Associated Press spoke with his son, who told them he does have a history of mental illness. AP also reporting that court records show that Wang Sor was sentenced in Nevada for stabbing his brother in 2015. We are live in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Lisa Rosner, CBS 2 News.